Hello everyone, Cheek here with another Transformers review, and today I'll be reviewing the Transformers Age of Extinction, Optimus Prime, and Galvatron. I don't normally do 2-for-1 reviews, but today I thought would be quite appropriate for these guys. Been holding on to them for quite some time, and I'm finally getting around to reviewing them. And hope you guys enjoy. Oh boy, two pretty cool but very different trucks. One good, one bad. One the leader of the Autobots, the other potential leader of the Decepticons. It's kind of unclear because he's mostly leading drones. I think he also did lead the Decepticons a little bit, but it felt like kind of a bit of a side story. Anyway, they're both, at least this is a real world truck. I think this one probably is as well, but obviously a more modern look. Anyway, currently I do have their weapons stored. His robot mode gun stores right there. And then the little rocket launcher stores right in there. Unfortunately, you can't leave it in there for transformation because the waist clips in there. So there's two different hollows, one in his chest, one down there. I guess technically kind of his waist back, I don't know, but there's two hollows that you can store that in when you're not using it, and it can tab into the sides right here. I think that's where it was in the movie, if he did use them, and then you might also be able to tab it in up there, but I personally like it on the side. Obviously, transformation is not like in the movie because he doesn't turn into a bunch of cubes and then reform into a cool looking robot. It's a shame that his weapon storage is so good because obviously visible feet syndrome right here. I can even forgive this right here, which is a little bit of the legs detail, but that is just, oh man, I mean, Optimus Primes, there's been a couple of Optimus Primes that have some rough backs where you can see the feet, but they don't usually protrude up like this. But I'm willing to give it a pass, mostly because the front looks really cool and the robot mode is absolutely stunning. Optimus Prime here, on the other hand, is also very cool, but he has a little bit more gray than I would like. I do like the silver paint. It's not chrome like on the original toy that they made of this character, but again, chrome, I'm usually not upset if they decide to do silver paint instead of chrome, just because of how fingerprints affect the chrome. I just wish they had used more silver paint or metallic gray or something rather than just the gray molded plastic detail, because that it just makes it look cheap in some ways. But I will say his truck mode is absolutely amazing. I think it's very clean, especially compared to Galvatron, but it is very clean mode, and the robot mode also is really cool. I'll talk about more about that in robot mode, but I will say his weapon storage does leave quite a bit to be desired, and you can't really mount it anywhere on the vehicle mode except for the trailer hitch, except for this little wrist-mounted blade. It can go on this tab right here on either side, but I don't care too much as those accessories are actually pretty cool. And I love how this closes up. Obviously, you can, if you look in there, you can see his hands, but I'd say the back of the truck for the most part looks really clean. The smokestacks atop looks like it's a little cut off based off of the mold. It's probably a clearance for the legs in robot mode because there are faux smokestacks that go on his back in robot mode because he's nowhere near as complicated as the third party one, which I would love to try out at some point. That looks like pretty much screen accurate in robot mode and vehicle mode, and everything from what I can gather goes where it's supposed to, and it's, oh man, I bet it's a pain to transform, but I bet it's fun to have in hand though. As far as, like I said, the legs, the back of the truck is very clean. I mean, it's very clearly the legs, but what's really cool is his feet end up here, and this is just his shins, essentially. Shins and lower legs that form the back part of the truck, and he rolls pretty well, better than Galvatron. Galvatron just slides mostly. I mean, I guess the 4 pinned wheels in the back do rotate, but the 2 up front, not so much. But like I said, I think these 2 make a pretty cool pair. If you didn't check in on my short yesterday, well, stay tuned for a brief stop motion short that I hope you'll enjoy. If not, skip ahead to the robot mode if you like. We meet again, Prime. This is the end of the line for you, Optimus. Galvatron, or should I say, Megatron. Your end is near. So we have these 2 together in their robot modes. And I know some people complained about him being really small for a leader class, which in some ways he is. But it's very understandable because Galvatron is Voyager class and they come from the same movie, so obviously they want them to be in scale together. So what they did was they gave him more articulation, I think a little more details and stuff, to make up for for having the leader class price point, but being more Voyager class size. And I think that these 2 look absolutely awesome together. So, I guess let's take a look at Optimus first. Look at that noggin. There is some nice detail there, but the biggest thing that I hated when I first saw him in the packaging and also product shots was just how much gray there is. There's just so much gray, and it made me really upset. But then I looked up, but when I was preparing for this review and I looked up pictures of Optimus Prime from Age of Extinction, his head is actually majority like metal color or silvered or steel rather than blue. I mean, obviously there is blue on it, and I think there is some blue on the back, but I guess they're thinking, well, since you're not really going to be able to see the back of the head very much or very often, let's just confine it to the front. And speaking of the front, this is obviously faux panels and stuff. It's not actually parts of the vehicle mode, but it does look very cool. Lots of intricate detail, almost none of it painted, except for like the pecs right there. And then there is a tiny little Autobot emblem right there. Some nice gold paint right there. I just love all this armor looking detail and the cables going right down there, and then all the detail on the shins. I mean, they did a good job with this, but it feels like they could have done focus a little bit more up here instead of most of it from here down. But it's still a pretty cool figure. And then of course there is a little bit of truck backpack right here kibble, but given that they were given the task of turning a very hyper complex character on screen into a transformable toy that isn't third party, it makes sense that they had to make some compromises. But from the front, there isn't really much there except for the very obvious smokestacks right here on the sides of the legs. But looking straight on, it's kind of easy to forget about them and then see the faux smokestacks on his back. And for Galvatron, also when Frank Welker returned, Galvatron is very well painted for a Voyager class, I think. Like, this head sculpt is so well painted and detailed. Just like the red eyes and then the golden light blue, or not golden, the metallic light blue in there, and then just all this detail, the horns. I mean, this is probably one of the coolest head sculpts from the Michael Bay movies. And then moving on, he has a very detailed chest with the famous hole right there. And speaking of the hole, it does show up on the back as well, but unfortunately, but realistically, I think there's a third-party one that actually successfully managed to have a full-on hole, but absolutely insanely complex. If they did, I can't remember. I'd have to look it up again, but there is at least the faux hole on the back so that it has the continuity, which I think is really neat. There is some obvious truck part bits, because you, like I mentioned, cannot turn this guy into cubes and reassemble him into a robot that doesn't even really look like it turns into a truck. But that is very cool. And then also there is a lot of paint on the arms. But as far as being a Voyager class price point where he suffers, primarily, if you ask me, is on the forearms, as they are very hollow on the bottom, and there is no wrist rotation. So I think that's kind of one of the sacrifices they made for this character mold. Articulation, the heads are on ball joints. Galvatron's head can do a full 360, Prime's cannot, but he does have more tiltage. Arms go out that far, shoulders can do a full 360, bicep full 360. Wrists can rotate on Optimus, and hands can open and close and bend. They do get full bend at the elbows. Waist rotation, they can do the full split. Well, Optimus can do the full splits anyway. And they do have thigh rotation. They can go back that far, forward that far, and Galvatron even further if you use the transformation joint. And he does have weapon storage in his chest. And because I couldn't quite figure it out, 90-degree bend at the knee, and it does go a little bit forward. And Galvatron also has about 90-degree bend at the knee with a little bit of forward play. Galvatron also comes with this movie accurate gun that his hand could morph into, and you just plug it into his hand like that, and there you have his hand cannon. Optimus comes with this little blade, which can go on his wrist, but unfortunately it doesn't stay there the greatest, so it has a tendency to pop off if you bump it up against anything. And obviously you're gonna have to have his wrist bent for that to stay in, or you could do this because it shows it in the instructions, but I don't believe he ever did this in the movie. He can hold it like a normal blade. And then, of course, since he is a knight, this is, I mean, I know that the next movie is called Last Knight, but this kind of started the knight motif to a point with this sword that Optimus got. And it is very plain. I am tempted to prime it and paint it in silver to make it pop more. And even so, it still looks pretty cool. And then here is his shield cannon combo. Also very plain looking, but it does actually transform, parts form into a full-on, well, not full-on, but a shield gun. And I guess the only I think what would have been cooler, made more sense, is to have it to where a gun pops out up here, or it opens up a little bit and gun flips up, because then you could still use the shield for protection as well as an offensive weapon. Whereas like this, you kind of just have to blast your enemies like this instead. It's still cool. It's a cool idea, but I think it could have been better executed. Now, obviously, this is probably accurate to the movie, but I just think that is kind of silly, but it's still a cool feature, because they could have easily just made this one solid piece of plastic and just been a shield like the original release. And as far as holding the sword, you can open up his hand and just pop it in. You don't even have to remove the handle
to the sword, although you can pop it off. It's probably because if you want to have any other characters hold this sword that don't have opening hands, you can then slip it through. There is one more little accessory that allows him to wear it on his back. The only downside to it is that from the front, now you have this big old visible truck roof, which is more reminiscent of the original toy that they released from the movie, which I did have at the time. It was, I have mixed feelings about, because it was fun in its own right, but it was such a bad representation. But it felt sturdy, like it didn't feel cheap and flimsy. The sword felt flimsy, but the figure itself felt pretty sturdy and had nice big rubber tires. So that's what that had going for it. But you slide the sword in here and then peg the shield in like so, and then he has a weapons backpack, and then you can also store this little blade right here. Come on, get on there. And there you have all of his robot mode weapon storage.
So that's about it for Age of Extinction, Optimus Prime and Galvatron. These two are very cool. I know that they're not necessarily everyone's favorite designs. They're not even my favorite Bayverse designs, but I think that they are very cool, and I think that these are some of the better Studio Series live action figures that I've seen recently. And this is like one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie. Anyway, if you like this review and you'd like to see more, please click that like and subscribe button to see more. Till next time, have a good one, everyone.